Hello and welcome to the Vault of Truth YouTube channel. This is Flat Earth Proof 153, Impossible Galactic Megastructures. Let's take a look at the cosmological principle. In modern physical cosmology, the cosmological principle is the notion that the spatial distribution of matter in the universe is uniformly isotropic and homogeneous when viewed on a large enough scale, since the forces are expected to act equally throughout the universe on a large scale, and should therefore produce no observable inequalities in the large-scale structuring over the course of evolution of the matter field that was initially laid down by the Big Bang. So according to this, the universe should look the same in all directions, and there shouldn't be any major anomalies at the galactic scale and above. Remember, in the globe model, the Big Bang supposedly set the whole structure of the universe within the first few nanoseconds by applying very specific initial conditions. But look what they have found recently. A massive ring of galaxies called the Big Ring, 1.3 billion light years across. So in their model, this would be an absolutely colossal megastructure. And astronomers agree it's an impossible structure. It shouldn't exist. There are no currently known processes or forces that would be capable of forming a structure like this. They have also found recently a giant arc of galaxies stretching 3.3 billion light years across that they also agree should not exist. And even though this is like the 9 millionth discovery that has thrown a major wrench in their cosmology, instead of finally admitting that maybe the model is wrong and throwing it out entirely, they just keep doing what they've always done and try to throw duct tape and band-aids over the problem. You can see in this article, they're saying this new discovery might lead us to new physics. They have already boxed themselves in pretty tightly with the Big Bang model and all of the forces currently present in their universe. They locked themselves in with the gravitational constant and the gravity equations. They locked themselves in with the expansion rate of the universe. They locked themselves in with dark matter that supposedly accounts for 26% of the universe that's never been discovered or produced in a laboratory. They've locked themselves in by saying that visible matter constitutes 5% of the universe. And they've locked themselves in saying that dark energy, a force that has never been discovered, the source has never been seen on the quantum scale, and has never been produced in a lab, constitutes 69% of the universe. They really have three big problems here with this. Number one, these two megastructures are forming two entirely different shapes. So you would really need two different types of processes or two different types of forces to produce them. Number two, the two megastructures are in close proximity to each other. So whatever forces or processes are producing each of them would have to exist in such a manner that they do not affect each other even within close proximity with each other. And number three, whatever forces or processes there are that are acting on these objects would have to nullify the effects of gravity. Because you have to keep in mind that all of these galaxies within these structures would be different sizes and different masses, which means that all these galaxies would be tugging on each other at different rates. To give you a good analogy of this problem, let's say you have 100 people in a room and they're all holding small metal balls that are magnetic, and everyone rolls their balls to the center of the room on the floor. And let's say that all these balls are slightly different mass and different magnetic strengths. Then imagine you have someone else in the room with a camera that takes a random snapshot of the balls when they all roll within close proximity of each other and are tugging at each other randomly. And just by random coincidence, when he snaps the photo, the balls are all making a perfect circle or a perfect arc, or both within close proximity of each other. The odds of that are so unlikely, it would be like 1 in a Googleplex chance. So whatever processes or forces are at work here have to be neutralizing the force of gravity in these regions. Because there's no way we just happen to be on the one planet in the one galaxy, in the one part of the universe where this has occurred, and evolved on this planet with just the right technology at just the right time for these galaxies to momentarily be lining up into these shapes within our capable viewing distance. They already have enough problems with the cosmos to deal with. They already have dark energy to deal with because they still have to prove it actually exists. So let's say they try to create two new forces to explain these phenomena. Let's call it the O force and the C force for the ring galaxy and the C-shaped arc. They would then have to explain why these two new forces don't apply to anywhere else in the universe. They would have to explain why these two forces don't show up on the quantum scale. They would have to explain how these forces nullify gravity. They would have to explain why these forces don't seem to affect the light emitted by these galaxies. And they would have to explain that if these new forces somehow did nullify the attraction of gravity between the galaxies, why was the force of gravity not affected within the galaxies themselves, allowing the galaxies to still keep their same typical structures and that of their corresponding solar systems? They also have to deal with the fact that they claim that dark matter is what shapes the overall grand structure of the universe. So then how do these two new forces seem to override that underlying structure? They would have to explain why these two forces do not seem to have any overall effect on other objects in the universe within close proximity. And then they have to explain how these two forces seem to have shielded these structures from the overall expansion of the universe, pulling things apart. They also need to explain why the Big Ring and the giant arc are oriented in such a way that they are facing our galaxy and this planet at just the right angle to appear as a perfect circle and a perfect arc. Because for one, if there's actually any depth to these objects, meaning if some of the galaxies within these structures are sitting much further away or much closer than others within the structure, why are we sitting at just the right angle to not see that? From our position in the universe, these things kind of look two-dimensional. And why are they both like this at the same time? Because even if we hit the observational lottery and we're lined up with the Big Ring just right to see it the way we're seeing it here, the giant arc could have been tilted away in a different direction, but instead it's lined up in such a way that it appears to be forming another even bigger ring around the Big Ring, but yet only in that one segment. And this introduces even more problems, such as if the giant arc is part of the Big Ring, why is it not forming a complete secondary ring around the Big Ring? What force or process dictates the separation distance between the giant arc and the Big Ring? And why does the giant arc appear to be exactly 1/4 of a circle? So needless to say, these cosmic megastructures are throwing a mega wrench in the globe Earth cosmos.